By 2025, predictions show the global market value of legal marijuana to be nearly $150 billion. With consumer demand, including medicinal and recreational use, increasing, cannabis businesses continue to contribute to the U.S. economy. Here with us to expand our knowledge on this industry is Dr. Brandon Cohen, a business professor who helped launch a new cannabis management program. He also is involved in the operations of a cannabis farm in Michigan, and he's a staunch advocate for entrepreneurial opportunities in the cannabis industry. Dr. Cohen, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Kristi. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So we hear so much about this multi-billion-dollar industry, but speaking for myself, and perhaps for many of our viewers and listeners, I know very little about the intricacies, legalities, financing, and operations of a cannabis business. So let's dive in and get a greater understanding. My first question for you, basics. What is cannabis? What is marijuana? What is hemp? Help us understand the difference.
Well, that's a great place to start, Kristi, because a lot of people don't know the difference and there's some confusion about it. So cannabis is the plants that we're discussing in general, and hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. The difference being, as classified in the Controlled Substances Act and the Farm Bill, is that hemp is cannabis that has THC concentration of less than 0.3 grams percent THC, and the marijuana is over 3% THC. So those are that's just the difference. It's the same plant. One has very little THC and one has a lot, a range of THC.
So as you're talking about this within that realm of cannabis, describe for us THC and CBD.
THC is considered to be a hallucinogenic. It's delta-9 THC, or it's THCA or THCV or other derivatives. CBD is a substance that's pulled from cannabis that has different properties than THC, and it doesn't technically make you high, if you will.
So Brandon, you're also an attorney. The federal government has not supported the legalization of cannabis at this time, yet some states have, obviously. So currently, approximately how many states have legalized medicinal marijuana and recreational marijuana?
I'd have to check because it's constantly evolving, but there's over 35 states right now that have legalized medical marijuana. And I believe the most recent tally is there's at least 15 states, maybe 14 states, that have legalized marijuana for adult use or recreational use. That would be for people that are 21 and over. Mm-hmm. So there's a conflict between the federal law and the state law, but there's a reason why it's still not being challenged at the state level by the federal authorities, because ultimately states have taken over some of this responsibility of regulating the market, and they're just not fighting it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So stating the obvious, a lot of money has been made in the cannabis industry. Who is using and buying cannabis, causing this to be a billion-dollar number?
I wouldn't put a category. I wouldn't say any category is driving the numbers more so than any other, age group. But clearly, a larger population of 21 to 35-year-olds is probably using marijuana as their choice of relaxation, as opposed to maybe alcohol. So the largest buyers are the younger groups, 21 and over. However, I think it's pretty consistent across the board. The growth in the industry is driven by the fact that it's going from a black and a gray market to a legal market. So you're seeing all these people that were buying cannabis or marijuana at the local level. They were buying it underground in a black market or gray market situation. And now they're just choosing to buy it legally. And the reason why they're choosing to buy it legally is because, and even though if it might cost a little more money, is because of testing, and that the product is going to be safer because of the rigorous testing standards that these states have implemented in order to be in the regulated market.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes all kinds of sense. So now let's delve into the business of cannabis. There are farmers, there are growers, cultivators, processors, manufacturers of equipment. And that is interesting to me. Some of the equipment that is used, you and I were talking earlier about this, they pre-roll joints. They diffuse THC into products like edibles. That's some of the equipment that's out there for the manufacturers. Also, there's dispensaries, there's retail, commoditization of all of the products. So relative to the aforementioned emerging cannabis marketplace, there are some business schools around the country that are really taking charge of this cannabis management opportunity and implementing courses and programs. And I know you have been really involved and are a professor in one such program at the University of Toledo College of Business and Innovation. And I'm interested in knowing more about what your goal is in this cannabis management program and what kind of student involvement and enthusiasm are you seeing?
But I think people want to understand what the cannabis market is. And I think the reason why there's a lot of growth behind people wanting to get cannabis education is because it's a huge market that's untapped. And I think people look for opportunities, whether it's as a worker, someone who's looking for an interesting place to work, or as an entrepreneur, people that are looking for growth industries. I mean, I think entrepreneurs would like to be in growth markets, and the cannabis industry is certainly a growth market. You know, it's not all specifically cannabis related. I mean, if you're a marketing firm, you yourself as a marketing firm aren't selling cannabis, but understanding the cannabis market and how to provide marketing services to the cannabis industry, that's a significant opportunity. So it's new avenues and verticals of growth for traditional businesses. It's not just for cannabis growers and, and dispensaries and processors. There's a lot of ancillary businesses around it that can benefit from the market because there's a lot of money being made.
Dr. Cohen, this is a fascinating look at the cannabis management business, the university program you're offering, as well as the industry backstory. But stick around because we're going to be bringing you back at the end of the show with my quick hits, so to speak, about what else? Cannabis. Okay, Dr. Brandon Cohen, when you are on Business Life 360, we get to do something called Quick Hits, which helps our viewers to get to know you and or your topic a little bit better. So are you ready for this?
I hope so.
Okay, let's do it. Here we go. The biggest misnomer about marijuana.
I think the biggest misnomer about marijuana is that by legalizing it, you're going to have a lot of significant problems that come because of legalization.
What is the cost of 1 ounce of marijuana?
Price range for an ounce of marijuana, depending on various factors, could be anywhere from $100 to $400 or $500 an ounce.
What did you name your cannabis farm?
Well, the cannabis farm that I'm engaged in is called Grass Lake Nursery, and we have a product brand line called Cured Flowers. So that's my involvement in the cannabis industry up in Michigan.
Do you think legalized cannabis will ever top cigarette sales ultimately?
Oh, absolutely. I think cigarette sales are declining. There's been a great campaign to reduce smoking, which I think is really beneficial. I mean, obviously vices, they have their, place in society. People smoke, people drink alcohol, people smoke marijuana. We'll call those vices. But ultimately, I think marijuana is going to far outstrip the value of the cigarette market, far outstrip.
Well, Dr. Brandon Cohen, thank you so much for sharing your business and your industry and all of your expertise in the area of cannabis. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Kristi. It's been my pleasure. I appreciate the time.